Alright, so it's been a while since the classic Lost Ark app. For multiple reasons, I have been taking a little bit of a break from Lost Ark, and honestly, I just didn't really feel like joining the meta of, hey, let's just regurgitate all the same information about T4 while T4 is not out yet. And now that the big update is here with T4 and Ignite servers, I thought I'd talk about it in kind of the state of Lost Ark. And for some reason, I decided that I'll tackle this in kind of like a good, the bad, the ugly. We can start this off with the good old glaze. When we got those patch notes for this update, man, everybody was just super hyped. Everybody was like, big Lost Ark W, all that kind of stuff. And I do agree, everything in there was good. I think the big thing that got everybody like super excited for all this is the fact that, well, it was leaked, but you know, Hyper Awakening is with the launch. This is something you can get after you clear out the MSQ and get to 1640. Overall, in my limited time with it, it has just been nice to just have something new to my classes, all my classes. As somebody who's been doing their like dailies as they're on like little vacation from this game, yeah, the new Chaos Dungeon, that is a welcome change. It doesn't redeem like the existence of Chaos Dungeon having to do that kind of content day after day after day, but it is a lot better than what it used to be. Doing the one run a day and also having those power-ups inside of it, it just kind of makes it a little bit more spicy. I think it will be good for player fatigue as long as the player doesn't decide to, hey, well now that I save this time doing less Chaos Dungeon, I do more Chaos Dungeon or something else. Because I think that's often what a lot of Lost Ark players do, and then they still end up burning out because even though the game has kind of reduced what they do, they add on more. What I'm saying is Lost Ark Andes might need a little help. And I say this from a bit of experience, by the way. And then Ignite is just also another great thing. They've really learned a lot from their past mistakes with Jumpstart, and they've just done a lot of good change. To be able to have the full perks of the Ignite server on any character that you make there, and then just try out classes actually as you want to, and then decide which one you want to actually transfer out, is just a wonderful idea. It turns Ignite servers into a really good test bed for not even just new players, but old players as well to maybe try out different classes. On top of that, on the Ignite servers, they removed all monetization on it, and also they turned off hard modes on all the raids. So that means everybody is forced to go into normal, which makes it more populated and just keeps people together. Because like all the hardcore players, they're going to instantly rush to hard, while like the newer players, they're going to want to play normal, but now they're all forced into normal, so then they get to actually experience kind of better lobbies, I'd assume. Of course, that comes with a, a little chance of toxicity, more than a little. And also the overall Ignite quest thing that they have there that just kind of updates every day, so you always got your first thing on a day, it seems like it's just telling you to do chaos, which is obviously like the most efficient thing you can do. So I think overall the Ignite is teaching people good habits, and it is going to be a pretty good learning environment for people. Well, I mean, maybe not good habits, but probably the best habits you can have as a hardcore Lost Ark player. Now on some of the bad. I think that Ignite servers are so well done that it's gonna really suck when they're gone away. Like, it's gonna be another situation of when people cop into streams or ask on Reddit, ask on some sort of media like, hey, is now a good time to start playing Lost Ark? People are gonna be like, hey, no, just wait for the next Ignite or next Jumpstart type server. We already had this situation with like, waiting for the next Power Pass, wait for the next Power Pass, and now it's gonna be either wait for the next Power Pass or wait for the next Ignite server. So hopefully what they end up doing is actually like doing this very much more often, like every 3 to 6 months maybe. I wouldn't even be opposed to having the Ignite server kind of always active, but you can only transfer one character every like 3 to 6 months, for example. I think right now the Ignite server is the best way to try out a new class and tinker around with something new and really get a feel for it before you decide to commit. The catch is that like for an Ignite server to feel like always pretty good for people, it's gonna need a constant income of new players. Say they keep doing Ignite servers, and then a veteran player is eventually going to run out of characters that they care about, and then all the veterans are going to stop playing Ignite servers basically. Which will turn it into a great place for new players to learn the game together, but that means we need a constant flow of new players, which we'll talk about that a little later. And I think that's a big factor on why we don't see this type of server always active. It's because they want to create it so everybody jumps in together. It's just not good for new players in the sense that they got to wait months potentially to get a good start. Now, the only thing that really goes in the bad here, I think, about T4 is the fact that we really can't interact with the Ark passive right away. Again, I think it's good that we got Hyper Awakening, so at least we have something new to tinker around with for a while. But the amount of points you get from the starter gear and the base accessories really isn't enough for the Ark passive to feel good. And the Ark passive is really like the biggest selling point of Tier 4. That's like the big change, and we can't really interact with it, so we're kind of still in that limbo of coasting. I don't think for a lot of people it really feels like Tier 4 yet because we haven't really experienced much for Tier 4. Which I'm perfectly fine with a little downtime and not wrapping up, but I just feel like the Ark passive should be a system that you can instantly start using. which I actually think that might kind of suck a little bit when I think about the Arc Passive and Ignite servers, because now you really don't have a test bed for testing out Arc Passive stuff. So I guess the Ignite servers isn't perfect for really trying out a class now that I think about it a little bit more, but I'm just going to keep that part in the video anyways. Now they did introduce paid only Crystalline Aura bonuses. They're kind of mid, but still pretty annoying that they exist. Alright, so let's get this fucking over with. Why would you guys decide to do deep dive for new players on Ignite? Like, the amount of disconnect I feel just from that alone is just ridiculous. Things like LOS is going to be a year-long plus endeavor that is going to gatekeep all these new players for a very long time. And I'm saying a year if they min-max, like do card runs and do everything else to kind of get it. If they're just casually playing, they don't know all the methods of getting the cards, that's going to be even longer. And since they are planning to add new card sets, why not make this one easier to obtain? Make it a full merchant drop. Like, giving somebody deep dive is like the equivalent of saying, hey man, come to Le Mans, we got a car for you, and also, hey, it's a little Daewoo with a lawnmower engine that you had to pull start. Yeah, you'll probably make it across the finish line eventually, but everybody's gonna not wait for you, everybody's gonna laugh, and yeah, fucking deep dive. And now, like, a lot of people are trying to compare T4 to an expansion. Like, yes, it is the closest thing Lost Ark really has to an expansion. And so when you think of like an expansion and also like an event to get people into the game, you see huge spikes in games. Like even WoW Shadowlands, they even popped off at the launch. So with that being like the common mentality and those also being like the best times to jump into game, you would expect to see a large influx of players, right? Oh man, this is where depression really starts to kick in. And so I looked at Steam charts and yeah, our player count really isn't much different than what it was like a month ago. Like going back 1 to 3 months ago, we still had 30k peaks roughly, which where we're at now. We just have it more consistent right now because everybody's trying to like FOMO get everything to start off T4. But man, oh man, I was really hoping that the number would actually go up. Like I thought Lost Ark had a little bit more goodwill than this. But it really goes to show that like Lost Ark really is just now a core hardcore community that has maybe some new players and then some old players maybe quit. Because to say that there aren't any new players is disingenuous. I think there are a decent amount of new players on Ignite. It's just that older players are quitting still too. And this really gives me the feeling that like pretty much everybody has made up their mind about Lost Ark. People either love it, they hate it, or they don't want to try it. And a lot of people don't want to try it, generally don't want to try it because of everything they hear about the game. It is a very all-consuming game. It takes a lot of money or a lot of time or a lot of both. I know people hate the concept and the terminology of using things called homework and calling it a job, but when you have to spend so much time on it, do everything every day, that's just how it feels, and so there is truth behind that. Which kind of loops back to my start of my video where I said that I couldn't make all the Blaze content because my concerns for Lost Ark in Tier 4 has been the same as they've always been. Lost Ark in the West needs fundamental changes, not just a soft reset like this. They need real game changes. Don't get me wrong, I think 30k concurrent players right now is a good number, but I would love to see it more. I would love to see Lost Ark do better. Now, I'm not saying I know the answer to this, and I'm not saying it's an easy answer. Now, they did add the Just Guard feature to it, and I don't know how to feel about it, so I just want to tackle that on its own. Functionally and in practice, it doesn't feel too much different from just doing a counter, except for now it's gold and you're hitting G. My concern and when it could get bad or ugly in it is the fact that since it is the new mechanic, I feel like they might overfocus it, and it might be like a big part of raiding and be a big part of wiping since multiple people can interact with it and probably going to have to interact with it at the same time. It's already hard enough trying to get like 1 out of 8 people to counter, and to have multiple people do it, it's kind of like, ooh, I don't know about that. So to sum things up, my opinion really hasn't changed since we got Tier 4 in Korea. I do think that all these changes are good, and they are better for Lost Ark as a whole. They make Lost Ark a better game. But I don't think the changes are deep enough to the fundamental and core design of the game that it's really going to make a lasting effect on the game and the community. 3 days into the launch, we are not seeing a huge influx of numbers, which kind of confirms that and also makes me worry. Now, it could be that like, hey, maybe we did lose 7k old players and we're gaining 7k new players, which is really good. Maybe that is happening, and that is also very good for the game. Because the truth is, everybody is going to quit a game eventually. And so maybe there is a lot of new players coming in, and that is good. I just thought we were actually going to see like a higher peak player count, and that's just kind of depressing. But we still have a good amount of time at night. We still got time for word of mouth and people to watch streams and start maybe get into Ignite servers a little bit later. So that's not the end of the story, and we'll see how the numbers settle as time goes on, and hopefully, you know, we'll see a little higher player base. Because at the end of the day, I still love Lost Ark. I am not a glazer, but I'm not a doomer either. I am just realistic with how I see things. And the truth is, there's a lot of gray. There's a lot of good and bad. And my hope is that you, my viewers, will see things a little bit more critically moving forward. And I do see a lot of that in my comments, which, you know, like, this is why I enjoy making content, is because I really want people to have good discussions. With that being said, thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments what your thoughts about on the current state of Lost Ark. Additionally, what kind of changes would you like to see to the West?